Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen with a few more ship updates this time, where these ships are in the pipeline and some of the changes. We're going to start with the now huge RSI Orion. The ship is nearly white box complete and they're looking at the moment at any other additional possible concepts or variants before moving into the grey box phase of its production. The Orion is this big top tier strip miner, the largest mining ship planned for the game currently. It's going to cut up asteroids with a big mining laser from its nose and then track them into the ship past grinders and then pull them through a refinery and finally deposit them in big tanks on the side of the ship. It's meant to eat entire asteroid fields, or at least it has that potential, and it's basically this big corporate mining vessel that's meant to compete with corporations. It's so massive that it can have a hard time turning, so the gameplay is about pulling asteroids towards it rather than manoeuvring around them. You'll be able to focus on particular minerals and materials when mining, automatically sorting what you actually want from the waste that you don't, ejecting the waste and keeping the stuff that you want. So you can set each of its 6 ore storage areas for different materials if you want it. There is a central corridor that runs through the ship. That's basically for the ore chute. The Orion has been scaled up massively, and this is the major thing about it. It's now 100% bigger. It's about twice the size of its original concept, and I think it looks like it's around 370 to 400 meters in length, which is about the same size as that Hull E, a little bit smaller than a Javelin. The ship has living spaces for the crew, which are kind of corridor size, the actual living spaces. That's due to that ore funnel running throughout the ship. The Orion's size change is immense, and this is because of some of the older concepts of ships. They didn't realise the amount of space they'd need for the interiors, for gameplay and that sort of stuff. So with their new techniques, they block out the internals fully first, then they build the ship around it. And that's why the Orion's been scaled up so much, because when they finished finishing the block out for the interior, they went, the ship has to be bigger. Some other stuff that we learned: 1 in 4 of all owned ships are Auroras by actual backers. The Constellation of Phoenix as well. So the Phoenix is currently in its white box final approval phase. It's getting a review to see if it needs any further white box work before moving into grey box. This is the luxury variant of the Constellation or Connie, with beds, living spaces, amenities, viewing areas. It's all for that touring, luxury, VIP kind of feel. When they were recently talking about the Phoenix, they also talked about damage states, and they said that the new damage states that they use for their ship pipeline are about 2,000% less work and time. It has the cargo bay still of the Constellation, that Phoenix, but the ship is extremely living space orientated. The airlocks on the side of the ship are gone. It's wider, longer, taller, so it is bigger than a standard Constellation. It comes with a Lynx rover, and that rover is wider but not as tall as the Ursa. The tail, nose, crew quarters, neck and habitation in the ship are basically the same as the other Constellations, but the body and interior needed a big rework. But obviously the other parts, the nose and tail and the habitation areas and stuff like that, they will get some material swaps to make it look in line with its luxury aesthetic. There's hot tub that was originally there, is now sunk under the ground and can be opened via a hatch, so you don't have to have the hot tub there if you don't want to. It can just be space for you to move around, and rare materials like woods and rare metals and stone make up the luxury of this ship as well. So there's going to be recessed lighting, there's going to be stone plates, there's going to be silly things that they go, well, this is the rarest wood in the world, this is what we use for the trim on the dashboard. The Crucible repair ship is about to move into the white box phase of its ship development, so there's actually quite a lot of work left to do with that ship. The Aegis Eclipse stealth bomber is grey box complete now and moving into the final art phase. Smaller ships like the Eclipse make their way through the pipeline very quickly, actually, it seems. The Vanguard variants, the Harbinger and Sentinel, have gone back into a design review stage, as they need to be tweaked to bring them in line with their updated processors and game systems, so Item System 2.0 and all the different size standards and stuff like that. So the 300 series is also getting a similar design review. It's a step back for these ships, to be sure, but as with some of the earlier concept accepted ships, they have to make changes and updates to bring them in line with all of their updated tech from 3.0 onwards. This type of rework shouldn't happen again for these kind of ships. They're not going to every so often go, this is the new standard, this is the new standard. Ships might have light modelling reworks, they might have materials updates, they might have lighting updates, but this kind of 3.0 push, a lot of these ships are now fleshed out to their intended kind of look and everything. And now that they've got a fleshed out efficient pipeline for the ships and tech, all ships moving forward will have this in mind. The Redeemer should be the only other ship that in the future needs a full heavy rework or reconcept, as it was built to basically different metrics. And if you're wondering why you don't hear much about the Redeemer, it's mainly because of that. It's a ship that has to be on low priority at the moment because they kind of have to rebuild it for all the latest systems and everything from the ground up again. At least that's my understanding of the situation. So once they're kind of happy with the changes to these Vanguards and 300 series of ships, they're going to make their way through the pipeline, hopefully very quickly, to white box, grey box, final art, and then flyable. Obviously with variants it's a lot easier for them to do, and the 300 series, they have the idea of the ship in mind. It might have changed a little bit, but they have a lot of the other Origin lineup done. The Mustang is gone back to, again, its grey box modelling stage, but it was having a rework anyway. So it's been made more streamlined along with some other changes. It's getting proper landing gear, so no more landing just on your wings, and your wings will actually now fold up too. You'll now enter the cockpit of the ship rather than entering through this central tunnel that you did previously. So it's basically like a normal fighter now, which is a much better idea for actually getting into the ship, and it has a ladder and everything as well. The Beta still has the habitation area, so that's one of the variants of the Mustangs, but you'll get there straight from the cockpit. So you'll still climb up the ladder, go into the cockpit of the ship, and then go into the rear of the ship. The exit is always going to be through that cockpit. And in regards to those variants, they're basically building the front and rear sections of the ship separately from each other, with the front section being shared across all of the Mustangs, and then the rear section being changed for each of the variants. The Mustang Alfa is now my favourite starter ship by far. It comes with cargo as standard, it's not slow or sluggish, it's got a little bit of agility for a fighter, and it can have 4 size 1 weapons, and is a great ship to learn the game in, and it has, just love the fact it comes with a cargo box now as well. It's cool. But anyway, every month we give away a ship. For November, it's a massive Pioneer base building ship donated by our featured Org Matadors. This will probably be the last video you're going to be able to get into that giveaway before we actually announce the winner. If you're looking to join an outlaw organisation, check out the Matadors, links below. All you need to do is be subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my Star Citizen videos during a particular month to be in for a chance to win whatever giveaway it is at the time. So this time it's obviously the Pioneer. But do you have any questions about any of the ships, or ships in the pipeline, or concept sales, or Alpha 3.0, or anything really? Chuck them in the comments below. A special thank you to my Patreon, so allow me to create the amount of content I do. If you're interested in becoming one of them, you can find the links to everything else we've talked about, including Patreon, just below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help me, and I'll see you in the verse.